I think I'm quite experienced when it comes to producing. I've held many different roles, and in one of my jobs as the documentary commissioner for Al Jazeera English, we have proper safety protocols, for filmmakers. But I'll be really honest with you, nothing prepared me for something like this.
Welcome to Bitch Talk. I'm your host, Erin.
And I'm co-host Ange, aka Captain Party.
2026 brings us into our 13th year of podcasting, and we're proud to be here. Thank you to our followers and longtime listeners for voting us Best of the Bay Best Podcast for 3 years in a row, and to SF Film for adding us to the respected list of essential SF winners.
If this is your first time listening, where the hell have you been? But better late than never. We're like if the rap group Salt and Peppa met the show Grace and Frankie and had a baby. And if you don't understand what that means, ask Jeeves. And now, on with the show. Clink!
What up, Bitch Talkers? We're doing a little tribute to Dolly before we do a quick intro into this interview that we did months ago about a film called American Doctor. But Ange was just going to do a quick and dirty, and then Dolly passed. And so we were like, we should just talk about Dolly for a minute. I've been mainlining Dolly Parton news all afternoon, probably not healthy, but couldn't help it. So just a couple things I wanted to note. If you didn't know, she wrote over 3,000 songs, sold 100 million records, 49 studio albums she recorded. She had 55 Grammy nominations and 10 wins. I think the one thing I heard about her, and I'm like, I think this is true. Someone called her the godmother of America.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is. It hurts. This one hurts, especially deep because I don't know that I could find someone that didn't like Dolly Parton. She was
Right.
the Venn diagram of connectors of all time because people from all walks of life, all races, all age ranges. Everybody loved her. Somehow she managed to make you feel like you belonged through her music and through her art and through her joy, her spirit. So she's definitely one of one, the last of a dying breed. And yeah, I don't know that anyone's going to be able to have the capacity to do that in the way that she did.
No, they said she was, I think, number 4 of her 12 siblings. Also.
Jesus.
And just, yeah, poor as dirt. And to what you just said, she's a uniter. I'm saying is because she's uniting people as we speak. Somehow the president that is sitting in Washington right now I don't know if it's him or his people, but they lowered the flag for her there.
It's definitely his people because
Yeah.
he would never do this for anyone that didn't outright just like bow down to him and kiss his feet. But even his people know, like, this is the one celebrity that you have to do this for everyone's sake.
Right.
At least they had enough sense to do that.
Right. Yeah, she just really seemed like a real one. They were like, she was in music for 70 decades.
7 decades. 7
Oh,
decades.
yeah, sorry, 7 decades. Well, whatever. It feels like 70. I don't know.
She probably was
700 years, guys.
She lived many lifetimes. I believe that.
I mean, she could have been 700. We just don't know with the plastic surgery, and she'd be okay with that.
And she loved to work. It felt like she did it for her fans, not for fans. And she did it because she loved the work. And she was working up until her last fucking seconds, it seems like. She had a residency that she canceled this year.
I know.
Like, with Dolly. Rest a little bit. Fuck. But she didn't want to. She loved it.
Didn't want to. Yeah. I think it's weird, though. Jeff and I literally going to bed last night, we saw a headline that was like, and we're like, what the fuck is this? It was like Dolly Parton considering Avatar, projections for future concerts. And we were like, what the fuck? We're like, that's fake news or whatever. And then today there was the news of her passing. And I'm like, I don't know. what's real anymore.
Well, I do want to say her family is saying that if you, in
Yeah.
lieu of sending flowers or gifts or anything like that, they want you to donate to her Imagination Library Foundation. She started it in 95. It provides free books to kids from birth to the age of 5. So we'll have a link to that in our show notes. It's sad, but it's sad for us. She lived a great life. She gets to rest now,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
and
like,
she will live on. She will live on.
she is living on, and yeah, I mean, like, dude, if you can live half a life like Dolly or half your life like Dolly, like you're doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
What an icon.
I would also say maybe in lieu of posting, or if you want to post a tribute to her, great, but maybe just try to live a little more like her every day. Maybe
Mm.
that's better than just posting something and then carrying on with your day. Maybe just trying to be a little more like Dolly every day. That's the message.
Hmm. Live a little like Dolly every day. There you go. Bitch Talk Podcast. You're welcome, everybody.
That's Add that to our list of shirts.
Add that to the list of what we should make a little coin off of, but not really. But Dolly was like such a good business person. Maybe we should. Anyways, that's for later.
Speaking of Venn diagrams, I think that she's a great introduction to this film as well, because we're talking about a very heavy film, but it's a film about adversity, determination, heart, humanity, giving to those and caring for those who are oppressed or maybe don't have a
Yep.
voice, giving them some kind of joy or hope or help. We're talking about American Doctor. You're going to hear more about it in this interview, this very powerful interview that we have with the director. We recorded it earlier this year at SF Film, and we held it for this moment because it is having its Bay Area release. Finally. So excited for people to see this on a big screen, for people to see this across the country, hopefully around the world. It's released this Friday on the 28th at the Roxy, the Smith Raphael Film Center, the New Parkway, and the Alamo Draft House in Mountain View. So if you're in the Bay Area, check it out.
I think it really touched us, and it was amazing to meet and talk with the director who you'll hear from, who's doing the work.
Mhm.
And is just a fucking badass, which she probably wouldn't say herself, but she is.
So we finally get to share this interview that we were so happy to do. Enjoy the interview, enjoy the movie out in theaters this Friday, and celebrate Dolly every day.
Every day.
Welcome to SF Film 2026. We are so excited to be bringing a conversation about a documentary that we have been chasing since Sundance. It's called American Doctor, and we're sitting down here with the director, Po Si Teng. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
So can you please introduce your film to our audience?
So the film's called American Doctor. I always wonder, like, how should I introduce it? I guess I could say it's like The Pit. The only difference, there are two differences with this. It's real, and it's set in Gaza. And it follows 3 American doctors, Palestinian, Jewish, and Zoroastrian, as they work in a besieged hospital in the Gaza Strip. And then they return to the U.S., and you see what they're trying to do in the halls of Congress and what happens to them.
I kind of have a twofold question, and I know time is of the essence, so I just wanted to say, first of all, in reading your bio, it's kind of no surprise after watching the film that you have a journalist background with the New York Times, Al Jazeera. Is that how you looked at making this documentary from like a journalist point of view? And the opening scene. How did you choose that, and why did you choose that scene with Dr. Perlmutter?
That's a really good question. I think it stems out of a lot of frustration. I was a journalist long before I was a documentary filmmaker. And I would say a year into the genocide, and seeing colleagues, people that I respected, being targeted and executed, an Al Jazeera journalist, because I used to work at Al Jazeera, as you mentioned. And then people in the United States, people that I know working in various newsrooms across the country, were still whispering in hushed tones. I mean, they had no problem, no issue whatsoever when it came to talking about peers being, targeted in Ukraine or being kidnapped in Russia. But when it came to Palestine and Palestinians, pin drop silence. So what is the problem? So that sort of like became the early motivations. I wanted to bring what is happening in Gaza back to the United States. And and your second question on the opening scene.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, so the opening scene, essentially, if I could describe it, is
Please do for our audience.
yeah. So I've gone to visit Dr. Mark Perlmutter, and he's about to show me some pictures, and my initial reaction in the scene is like, oh, it's okay, we're probably not going to show it. And he gets really, really upset with me. I actually lean forward and try to pacify him. If you look carefully, you'll see my hand on his shoulder. And then I edge away because he's really furious. And he says, you pixelate it. You have to show it for what it is, because otherwise it's journalistic malpractice. And, as somebody who's worked, as a journalist for various media entities, it's such a delicate balance. My training tells me protect the dignity of those who have passed and also those who have survived, even though their family members were lost. But in this case, you show too little, it's not real. Mm-hmm. You show too much, it's gratuitous. Mm. So it was very important to sort of strike that balance, but more importantly, not to shy away. And that was the second day of filming with Mark. And that sort of set the tone on what the film was going to be.
Mm-hmm. It is a very powerful moment. I want to talk about your three main doctors, and one, how you met them, how you chose for them to be your leads, and also what a gold mine of emotions they all bring to the table because of their different approaches to the situation. Some are more calm and measured, some are more in your face. Some take to social media and are so brilliantly good with words, social media wise. And it's just so nice to see three different approaches to a really, really horrible situation.
Yeah. I think for a long time, a year into the genocide, I was at a loss for words. I didn't know how to communicate with people anymore. How do I engage? I work in an industry where I have to move around different circles. I have Palestinian friends, Muslim friends, Jewish friends, all sorts of friends. But it just was I didn't have the language to talk to people. And so I always laugh when I think about this. Who did I find first and how? Okay. Sorry, forgive me. It was sometime fall 2024. And a reporter is interviewing Dr. Mark Perlmutter on TV. And he asks, so, Dr. Perlmutter, you just came back from Gaza. Why do you think there's no ceasefire? And Mark says, there's no ceasefire because politicians are expletive to lobby groups. And I was like, whoa, who is who is this white man?
Yeah,
white Jewish
real.
man,
right?
And so I a few days later, so I live in New York. A few days later, he was the keynote speaker for the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, and in Sony Hall, in a room full of mostly, I would say, Palestinians, Muslims, Arabs, raising money for PCRF. Lo and behold, Mark, and when he spoke, he was such a good storyteller. And when I looked around, people were just quiet and weeping silently. And when it ended, the host of the evening said, "My brother, we will not forget what you have done for us." So I went up to him and I introduced myself, and soon after he introduced me to Dr. Thayer Ahmad and Dr. Farouz Sidwa. And when I talked to all three of them, I'm like, how does this work? Seemingly on the surface, they couldn't be more different, right? You have Mark, if you see in the film, he wears his heart on his sleeve, doesn't mince words, say what needs to be said. You have Dr. Thayer Ahmad, who is very calm, composed, strategic, politic. He navigates space a certain way because he has to. it's not like he has a choice really.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the big surprise, Dr. Feroz Sidwa. Feroz, like, he has an encyclopedic memory. Don't ever fight with this guy. And you know,
He's very measured.
He's very measured, but you know what? He also does a lot of the homework. Like, he's been studying Palestinian history and Israel for the past 2 decades and more.
Mm-hmm.
And so you cannot argue with him. But the amount of homework that he does before every interview, every, you know, panel, it taught me something. It taught me, like, if you want to convince people who may not necessarily agree with you, you need to do the work. So watching the three of them sort of navigate, it gave me the language. Okay, you know what? I have 3 templates here.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to be a Thair? Do I want to be Mark? Or do I want to be Feroz?
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
Depends on the mood.
Yeah,
Depends
depends on
you know?
who you're talking to,
You know?
right? Depends on who you're dealing with.
Exactly. And I think, okay, to be really honest with you, like, I'm a woman of color. I can't say, like, even just walking in a room, I'm going to be perceived a certain way. I have to be, I think, more mindful. I think. And this way, Mark is the one who taught me some big lessons, because I think there was an incident, and I told Mark, I said, hey man, like, maybe, you know, phrase it, maybe it's worth thinking about it differently, like, you know, more medium term, long term. And Mark, who's actually going to be 71 in a few days.
That's amazing.
Isn't it wild? That's wild, right?
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Taurus, get it. I knew it.
He's a fit 70, soon 71-year-old.
Yeah.
All right.
We need his secrets anyway.
You need his secrets.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's vegetarian. He has good genes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of 2, maybe.
He exercises a lot.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I'd like, Mark, hey man, like, maybe, you know, think medium term, longer term. And Mark, like, I have no time. You don't understand. And that taught me sort of like the urgency. Say what needs to be said.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think sometimes I'm so careful, and this is how I really, really relate to Thair, you know, because there are all these landmines all over you cannot see, and I'm navigating carefully. I learned a lot from Thair as well, you know, but it's just like, so from the 3 of them, they sort of gave me the language and also the path forward on how to move in this very, very dark time that we find ourselves in.
Mm-hmm.
From the beginning of this project till now, while you're touring the film, can you talk about what you've learned, and maybe what are some of the myths that have that you've dispelled, maybe for yourself or your thinking, and what's the feedback that you're getting from audiences that are watching this film, because this premiered at Sundance, correct?
It did. Yeah.
So what's the feedback that you're getting that you want to share with us and on the mic?
Sorry, your first question?
Just from the beginning of the project till now, what are some of the things that you've learned, and maybe the myths that have been dispelled for you and your thinking in terms of the genocide in Gaza, and Palestine and Israel, all of those things?
I think one of the biggest lessons, I will say, is going into this film, I always felt like, oh, it's going to be hard for Thair. He's Palestinian. You know, his people are literally being genocided. But I guess I didn't realize how hard it would be for Mark. You know, and Thair is so loved, and he's wrapped around the community. They embrace him. Mark is by himself. You know, and so if people are standing up, you know, and you know, members of the community are going out to pummel them, be with them. It is not so easy, even though they're not from the community that's being, you know, massacred. Like, it is very hard what he's doing. And so I learned a lot about allyship. So that was the first, lesson. The second thing, when you're so deep into, you know, whatever you're doing, and in this case, it's like making this film and being super hyper aware about everything that's happening in Gaza, one tends to forget a lot of people are not seeing this. You know, and so Sundance was incredible. But the festival that really surprised me, if I may, was True False in Columbia, Missouri. You know, it's in the Midwest. It's a lot of people who just want to watch film. They're not from the industry. They're not filmmakers. And it was also our largest audience. You know, it was a hall 1,200 seats. Okay. And I was like, I don't know how we're gonna fill this. I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah.
Well, kind of like. I mean, I hope people come to see it, but I hope the festival, And it was packed, and it was also mostly a white audience and an older audience, and for them, I think they were sort of seeing this for the first time. On the one hand, I could be like, whoa, surprised, but on the other hand, it kind of makes sense because life in the United States is not easy. There are a million challenges. Like, you get sick, you bankrupt yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
The healthcare situation, there's no safety net, and they're like, you have, what do you pick something that to be concerned about. ICE, there's a million things, and so it's not in people's realm and frame of mind. And so that's what I learned, because after the screening, I think it was also one of the most, I could feel the room and the electricity and the pain and anguish, because people were feeling it for the first time. When the film ended, there were audience members who just stood up and just started shouting, "What can we do? What can we do?" The kind of desperation and urgency. Now, that's not going to come from a community of people who already know about it. This is like people who are seeing it for the first time and hearing it for the first time. So that's been good, and I hope we continue to reach audiences that haven't really had a chance to think deeply about U.S. involvement and U.S. taxpayer involvement in what's happening in Gaza.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's a hard part of one of the hard parts of the film to watch is when they're leaving, and it's hard. How do you say goodbye? The work isn't done, but the work continues and is kind of equally as important when you come home to keep spreading the message of what's happening and shoving it in people's faces so they don't forget. So that's so beautiful that Missouri was bringing it for the film. I hope that it causes a wave of action on that end. But I did, before we wrap, I did want to talk about you're showcasing what these doctors risk to go and help and do the right thing. But I want to hear from your end, from behind the camera, sort of the risk that you take as director, as a crew, feeling responsibility for the safety of your crew. Can you talk about how you had to sort of balance that act of showing what's happening, but also you want to make sure everyone's safe?
Yeah, I think I'm quite experienced when it comes to producing. I've held many different roles, and in one of my jobs as the documentary commissioner for Al Jazeera English, we have proper safety protocols, for filmmakers. But I'll be really honest with you, nothing prepared me for something like this. I mean, we're working with a team, and when I mean our team, I mean two people. I mean a director of photography, Ibrahim Al-Otla, and our co-producer, Mohammed Sawaf. Okay, they are living this while they're trying to film it. It was a huge sacrifice for them to tell us, like, yes, we want to do this. We'll separate with our families. We're going to go to Nasser Medical Complex. We're going to film the doctors. And, if anything were to happen to them or to their families, they would be apart. So we do not, as a team, ever take that lightly. And then also, the blockade had already begun when they were filming. So you're literally talking about our friends, gaunt and everything, no food, and doing the work. Feroz always tells people this, because it was also during the month of Ramadan. So he would give Ibrahim, our director of photography, some food and said, when after you're breaking fast, like at Ramadan during iftar, like, have it. And he would just smile and put the food in his pocket. Why? Because he's got 5 children. Muhammad has 5 children. So, while we are here as a film and the film is going to places all over the world, it's really hard. It's really hard for my team. It's really hard for me. And we just spoke to Ibrahim and Muhammad a few days ago. And I told them, it doesn't feel good. But on their end, they are proud. And they told us, keep going. Keep going, keep telling people about what's happening to them. Because they're still being targeted. People are still getting killed almost every other day, if not every day. There's no real yellow line. So, Muhammad Sawaf, our co-producer, Israel killed 46 members of his family. And yet he's telling me, it's okay, keep going. So if they are telling us that, then it is very clear for us that we need to continue.
I'm going to switch gears because we're ending our episode. And we do this with every guest that we have. So it's called This Bitch. So you're shining a light or you're throwing shade at someone who's bringing you joy or someone that's pissing you off. So who's your this bitch right now?
I guess, this bitch is us. This is the people. It's American taxpayers. Okay, it is so much easier to point our fingers. Netanyahu, this is others, Israel, Germany, U.S. government, Trump. What are we doing? We live in a democracy, right? We believe we live in a democracy. Regardless of the outcome, we have a vote. We are in the year of the midterm elections. There's primaries going on. So everybody better effing wake up now and think about your role as a taxpayer, as a citizen, and bloody damn hell, call your legislative offices and tell them you are not about this. You're not about, 2,000-pound American bombs being dropped to shred children. You're not about, like the targeting and kidnapping and torturing of healthcare workers. We are not about that. And I'll tell you what's going to happen. It's already happened if we just close our eyes and sort of sleepwalk through this. We have genocide in Gaza. We have all these settler attacks. Also, there are a lot of Americans involved in this, in the settler attacks in the West Bank. And now we have this expanding war in Iran. Recently, you had the 160 plus elementary school girls, being killed by a tomahawk. So, and now the illegal war is expanded to Syria, to Lebanon. So this bitch is, frankly, us. So I just want people to wake up, because don't for one instance think that this is over there. We don't even have money for healthcare, education, and we're spending billions of dollars every week. Billions of dollars. Are we okay with that? And if we're okay with normalizing that, it's going to come home. It has already come home. We're okay with ICE shooting people in the head. We're okay with child rape, with Epstein files. So I hope people wake up and be true to themselves, because what is happening, that is not who we are. And if we really want to be who we are, then we better start doing something now.
Yep.
Ooh, Poe. Thank you so much.
You're this
yeah,
bitch
you're
right
our, yes. Can we have daily talks for inspiration? Thank you for the work that you do. And thank you for sitting down with us. This has been a real honor. And we appreciate all the efforts and all the risks that you took to bring this story to life.
Thank you. I appreciate you both.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us on today's show. You can find more information about this episode in our show notes.
If you're missing us, you can visit us at bitchtalkpodcast.com to sign up for our newsletter and buy us a cup of coffee.
Did you know we're also on the radio? You can find us at bff.fm.
And lastly, rate and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. All the cool bitches are doing it.